This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
It's a very interesting machlokes rishonim what the inyan of Mahadrin and Mahadrin is. You know, Chanukah ner shubeisai. That's the ikar mitzvah. Mahadrin is everybody in the house. Excuse the language. Everybody in the house lights one ner. What's Mahadrin and Mahadrin? So Tosfos says Mahadrin and Mahadrin is one person in the family. First night lights one, next night two. Moisef v'holech ma'an b'kodesh, but only one person. The Rambam argues on Tosfos. The Rambam says everybody in the mishpacha is Moisef v'holech. So Berhete points out this is the only time that Ashkenazim follow the psak of the Rambam, and the Sfardim follow the psak of Tosfos. Normally the Ashkenazim follow the Bali Tosfos, the Sfardim follow the Rambam. This is the only time in halacha the Ashkenazim follow the Rambam, and the Sfardim follow Tosfos. So in keeping with that thing, Rabbi Glatstein was thinking, who's he going to invite to speak Chanukah? To invite somebody from Williamsburg. That's not the nace of Chanukah is that the Sfardim follow the Ashkenazim and vice versa. So in keeping with that, Rabbi Glatstein gave me the zchus to be here today. We're going to speak a little bit about seudah Chanukah. So we start with the Tashbeis Katan. The Tashbeis Katan was written by Rabbeinu Shimshon Bar Tzadok. The Talmud Muvak of the Marami Rotenberg. Marami Rotenberg was in jail, was in prison in Ein Sushaim, and they let his Talmud, the Tashbeis, go into jail with him, visit him, and in jail the Marami Rotenberg taught the Tashbeis 590 Piskei Dinim. Din 170, Kufayin, the Marami Rotenberg tells the Tashbeis, the Chanukah, the Meshtois, Lechol, Zehu Sudas HaRishus. There's no mitzvah to eat a seudah on Chanukah. That the Gemara says Lashana Acheres Kavam v'Asam Yamtiv LaHalal v'Hoida. Yeah, for Halal Hoida. The Gemara doesn't say Mishta v'Simcha. So Amir Maram, the Ram Rothenberg says Dafka LaHalal v'Hoidais. Aval loy l'Mishta l'Simcha. There's no inyan of having a seudah on Chanukah. That's the psak Maram Rothenberg. All the seudas of Chanukah are seudas harishus. Okay. The Marshal disagrees with the Tashbeis. Marshal says, take a look at number 2. Mitzvah l'smach b'Chanukah u'misham hachi karo yomtiv. Yeah, the Gemara says l'shana acheres kavam v'asam yomtiv b'hala v'hoida. Yeah, by Purim is mishta v'simcha. B'Chanukah is yomtiv b'hala v'hoida. So it doesn't say anything about mishta v'simcha. It says Marshal it does. What do you think a yomtiv is? What's a yomtiv? Yomtiv is mishta v'simcha. Misham hachi karo yomtiv. V'hein yemei simcha. V'chein pasuk harambam. The relation harambam is that kavim ba'asam yemei simcha. V'amor chayorach v'nagu. Okay, fine. So there's machlokes. You have a machlokes kadmoinim. The Tashbeit says in the name of Rami Rotenberg, the seudas of Chanukah are seudas rishus. Marshal says the seudas of Chanukah are seudas mitzvah. Comes the Matei Moshe. Who wrote the Matei Moshe? Talmud of the Marshal, of Moshe Mos, and he writes the following. He quotes the Marami Rotenberg, he quotes his Rebbe, the Marshal, and then he says like this, in the 5th line, Va'anu noyagin lezamer zmirois v'shvachos v'sudais shemar v'mehem. The minhag is, we sing zmirois shiurs v'shvachos to the Rebbeinu Shalom, v'hav sudas mitzvah l'das kulam. So who's he passing like? Tashbeitz? Marami Rotenberg? Who's he passing like? Neither. It's a hachra. He's making a pshara. You have a machlokes. Is it seudas mitzvah or is it seudas rishus? Comes the Matei Moshe. He says, really, it's in between. So if you say divrei Torah, if you sing shiurim v'sishbachos, it's elevated to become a seudas mitzvah. And that's what the Ramah paskins the halacha. Look at number 4. The Mechaber paskins like Marami Rotenberg. Riboy hasudais shemar b'mehem hahem seudas rishus. Shaloi kavam lemishta v'simcha. Right? Shulchan Aruch paskins not like the Rambam. Says the Ramah, the Yeshoimrim sheish k'tas mitzvah b'ribay seudah. Some say there's a little bit of a mitzvah. Says the Ramah, the noyagin loymar zmirois v'sishbachos v'seudah shemar mehem v'oz have a seudas mitzvah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, v'oz have a seudas mitzvah ratza loymar b'tziruf zeh. You need 2 ingredients, right? For the seudas of Chanukah to be a seudas mitzvah, you need 2 ingredients. It has to be Chanukah, and you have to say divrei Torah or zmiros v'sishbachos. Very interesting. Let's say on a regular Tuesday afternoon, you get together for a seudah, and you speak Divrei Torah for 10 hours straight. Is it a seudas mitzvah? It's not a seudas mitzvah. Would Rav, the Gemara in Chulin says, Rav loy neshanem misudas harashas. Would Rav come to that seudah? Rav would not show up. Rav would not eat anything at the seudah. What do you mean, Divrei Torah? Rav only ate seudas mitzvah. Seudas mitzvah is pidyon haben, chasana, bris milah. Just because you speak Divrei Torah, and there's no halacha that if you speak Divrei Torah, it's a seudas mitzvah. It's zeh shulchan lefnei Hashem. It's like a mizbeach, but it's not a seudas mitzvah. Seudas mitzvah means the seudah, not the Divrei Torah. The seudah is a mitzvah. The food is a mitzvah. So what's this inyan on Chanukah that you throw in a little Chanukah? Chanukah alone, no, that's not going to make it a seudas mitzvah. You throw in a little Chanukah, a little Divrei Torah, you mix it together. You take the ladle, you mix the Chanukah together with Divrei Torah, and somehow all of a sudden it becomes a seudas mitzvah. Manavshach. Is Chanukah a reason to have a seudah? It's not a reason. If it's not a reason, what's the Divrei Torah going to do? And if it is a reason, you don't need Divrei Torah. Purim, you don't have to speak Divrei Torah to make it a seudas mitzvah. It's a seudas mitzvah. Purim seudah is a seudas mitzvah. If you're not going to speak Divrei Torah, so it's not a mizbeach, but it's a seudas mitzvah. It's still a seudas mitzvah. What's the inyan? Right, the Mishnah Berurah is saying that tzir of zeh. A little Chanukah and a little Zmiros. What's the inyan of this? So Rishonim bring down Parshas Miketz. We know most years, Shabbos Chanukah, we lay in Parshas Miketz. So a lot of Rishonim bring down that there's a remez in Parshas Miketz to Seudas Chanukah. What's the remez? Look at number 6 in Parak Mem Gimel, Pasuk Tezayin. Vayar Yosef Itam Es Binyamin. Vayar Melashar Avesei Havei Yisva Anoshim Habayisa. Utivayach tevach v'hachein. Right? Utivayach tevach. Shecht the shechting. See, I know a little Yiddish. Utivayach tevach. Very little, right? V'hachein. V'hachein. And prepare. And prepare. Utivayach tevach v'hachein. So the Shiltei Gibarim brings down. Now there are two Shiltei Gibarims. You know, there's Shiltei Gibarim on the Ran, and there's Shiltei Gibarim on the Mordechai. So the Shiltei Gibarim on the Mordechai, Daf Ayin Tes, he brings down. Okay, we're talking about Rishon, not somebody today. B'roiv Hashanim Chanukah Chal b'Parshas Miketz. Most years, Chanukah comes out Parshas Miketz. V'simonach Miketz Shenasayim. The word Shenasayim Noitrikoin. It's an acronym. It's Rosh Tevos. Smoil Ner Tadlik. Yemin Mezuzah. On the left side, light the menorah. On the right side, put up the mezuzah. Siman kol haner siman shamashim. What's the total number? Mem daled. V'simanach, right? You have 44 neroist. You have 36 regular plus the 8 shamashim. Nechmad lamara. Nechmad stands for ner Chanukah. Mem daled. Okay. Or you have in the Haftarah this explain, right? V'gula al roisha, the bowl on the head of the menorah. Gula is the gematria mem daled. Now listen to this. Says the Shiltei Gibarim. V'ani yamta. That was his name. Hakosev. Kibalti siman acher b'Parshas Vayimiketz. Utivayach tevach v'hachein. Look at those 3 words in the parsha. Utivayach tevach v'hachein. Haches mi tevach. You take the ches from tevach. V'hateva min v'hachein. You put the ches together with the v'hachein. It's kiyadua. It spells out Hey Moisias Chanukah. So this is a simin, this is a remez from the Torah to the seudas of Chanukah. So even though it's machlokes rishonim, some say seudas Chanukah is seudas rishus, says the Shiltei Gibarim, we have a remez in Parshas Miketz, seudas Chanukah is a seudas mitzvah. V'smach l'seudas shoysim l'Chanukah v'oisiyos u'tvayach tevach. You take the first 2 words, tvayach tevach, that's the gematria mem daled. So whatever you hold, whether it's seudas rishus, seudas mitzvah, says the Shiltei Gibarim, we have a remez in Parshas Miketz that the seudos of Chanukah are seudas mitzvah. Okay, so also brought down in El Yarabah. This is Chidah brings it down in many places that the remez to seudas Chanukah is what? Utivayach tevach v'hachein. So here Yosef Atzadik, he's sitting there in Mitzrayim. It's Ervas Haaretz Mem Tesh Sharei Tumah. And he's having, jelly donuts, right? He's having seudas Chanukah. What's he doing having seudas Chanukah in Mitzrayim? Okay. Says the Sfas Emes, once we're bringing Chanukah into Mitzrayim, let's not forget about Purim. So if you thought, Rabbi, if you thought you came here today to hear Chanukah Torah, you came here today to hear Purim Torah. Okay? We'll see. You came here today to hear Purim Torah. Says the Sfas Emes, look at number 9. Vayisa maso ismeis panav aleim. Yosef's giving gifts to them. V'aterev masas Binyamin mimasas kulam chamesh yados. Vayishtu vayishkeru imay. They got drunk. Chanukah, even if you want to hold like the Rambam, that there's a mitzvah of simcha, nobody in the right mind would say the simcha of Chanukah is ein simcha ela b'yayin. There's no shita, they have to drink on Chanukah. So says the Sfas Emes, unfortunately the main part got cut off. Says the Sfas Emes, I'll read it to you. Va'amina, let me tell you, says the Sfas Emes. Lefi remez hamafarshim, tivayach v'hachenu Chanukah, according to the Rishonim, utvayach v'hachenu is Chanukah, af ani nemer, I'll tell you the following. Vayishkeru, he remez shel Purim. Vayishkeru is a remez. So Yosef says, while we're at it, while we're having Sudas Chanukah and Mitzrayim, let's have Sudas Purim also. Anyway, Sudas Purim is more interesting, right? So we'll have Sudas Chanukah, we'll have Sudas Purim. Why? Says the Sfas Emes, this you have on the sheet. Ki Chanukah uPurim heim nisim hoachroinim smuchim l'soif tikun hakoilel sheyeh nigmar b'mher v'yamin beis b'yasagayim. Okay, whatever that means. Right? Chanukah and Purim are the Nisan that are going to happen before the Gula Achrayna. So therefore, in Mitzrayim, Yosef HaTzadik is having Sudas Chanukah, Tzvayach Terach V'Hachein, Sudas Purim, Vayesht, Vayishkeru Imay. Very interesting. Why is Yosef so interested in having Sudas Chanukah and Sudas Purim? Why not Pesach Seder? Why not Shavuos? Why not sit in the Sukkah a little bit? No, Chanukah and Purim. Says Chasam Sofer, familiar, Chasam Sofer has many svarim. You have Taras Moshe, you have Chasam Sofer ala Torah, you have Madura Shlisha, Riviyah, you have Oyros Chasam Sofer, you also have something called Jerushim V'Agados Chasam Sofer. It's not so easy to get. These are the drashas of Chasam Sofer. Now they have drashas Chasam Sofer, Chela Gimel, yeah? But they have something called Jerushim V'Agados Chasam Sofer. These are the drashas he said when he was very young. So they're very creative. Even some say they're the most creative, the most chidushtik of all of his drashas. So he says like this: Yosef HaTzadik has a garment, a beged that none of the other brothers have. Right? Ksainas Pasim. How much does the Ksainas Pasim weigh? How heavy was the Ksainas Pasim? So the Gemara Megillah says on Daf Tezayim and Beis, look at number 11. Amar Rav Bar Mechasya, Amar Rav Cham Bar Guri, Amar Rav, Bishvil Mishkal Shnei Silayim Milas. Shahosef Yaakov li Yosef. The Ksainas Pasim of Yosef weighed 2 selah. Who cares? 2 selah, 2.5, 3, 5.5. Why is the Gemara telling me that the Ksainas Pasim weighed 2 selah? Says the Chasam Sofer an amazing diak. Remember when Leah was having child after child, the pasuk says, Vayikanu Rachel b'Leah. So Rashi's bala Vayikasha. Rachel Imenu had kinah. Kinah is a lav in the Torah. Rachel had kinah. So what does Rashi say? Niskana b'maaseh hatovim. She had kinah soifrim. She was mekane that Leah must have been a bigger tzaddikus. That's why she was having children. In fact, the Chasam Sofer, the pasuk says, "Vayikanu by Echav." The brothers were jealous of Yosef. What were they jealous of? That he had a beged? It's kinah. Mamish and Isser. Says the Chasam Sofer, we know the Avos kept kol Torah kulam. The Shvatim kept kol Torah kulam. But there was one item that the Shvatim could not understand. You know what that was? 2 mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. Chanukah and Purim. So while Yaakov taught the Shvatim Kol HaTorah Kula, but there's one thing he could not relate to the Shvatim. They did not understand Chanukah and Purim. They could not understand it. There was one thing that Yaakov gave to Yosef that he didn't give to the other Shvatim. The Ksainas Pasim that weighed 2 selah represented the 2 mitzvahs d'Rabbanan that Yaakov taught Yosef HaTzadik. Chanukah and Purim. The beged of Yosef, what do you call the beged of a Talmid Chacham? Right? The Gemara says, right? It's a Chilukah d'Rabbanan. Right? The Shas, you find Chilukah d'Rabbanan. The beged of a Talmid Chacham. Yosef had the Chilukah d'Rabbanan. He had the beged, which represented the added Torah that Yaakov taught him that he didn't teach the rest of the Shvatim. Vayikanu bayachiv, ein lecha kina soifrim gedola mizu. This was kina of the mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. The brothers were never given Chanukah and Purim. The brothers were given Kol HaTorah Kula. They were not given Chanukah and Purim. So Yosef HaTzadik, he invites the brothers to sit with him. So Yosef HaTzadik says, let me give you a little taste of these 2 mitzvahs that you never understood. So Tevayach Tevach V'Achein is Chanukah. Vayeshvu, Vayishkru Imoi, that's Seudas Purim. Okay, so we see already there's a kesher between these two Yom Tovim Midrabanan, Chanukah and Purim. Find further. That some Sofer in Parshas Vayishlach, he says that Yaakov Avinu, why was it so important to him to give over to Yosef Chanukah and Purim? Why was that so important to him? Because these are the two Yom Tovim Yaakov saw b'Nevuah. Already even in the times of Esav, as Yaakov Avinu is coming away from Esav, what does the pasuk say? Right? Vayivaser Yaakov levadoi, al tikri levadoi ela lekadoi. Right? And Chazal say lekadoi is the kad shemen, right? The pach shemen. Yaakov Avinu already foresaw the miracle of the pach shemen, and he's mispalel that this pach shemen should last for his banav in the times of Chashmonah. What else is Yaakov Avinu mispalel for? Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav, right? So the Baal Turim points out, Hatzileni na miyad is Rashi Tevois Haman. So Yaakov Avinu in Parshas Vayishlach already, he already foresees Hatzileni na miyad, says the Baal Turim is Purim. But we're saying Purim Torah now. Right? Yeah. So Hatzileni na miyad, Hatzileni na miyad is Haman. And Vayivasa Yaakov Levadai Al Tikri Levadai Ella Lekadai. Okay, so we see already that Yaakov Avinu had a special connection specifically to Chanukah and Purim. He gives it over Dafka to Yosef HaTzadik. That's the Ksonis Pasim that weighed 2 selah. And in Mitzrayim, Yosef HaTzadik has a special seudah for the brothers. Utevayach Tevach V'Hachein is what? Chanukah. And Vayesh V'Yishku Imoi, that's Purim. Every year, Parshas Miketz, I don't know what to do with this. I mamish don't know what to do with this. Every year, Parshas Miketz, I think it's Purim. Why? I don't know. Maybe, please, somebody tell me that this is brought down somewhere. Every year, Parshas Miketz, I think we're leaning Megillas Esther. I get confused. She said, well, what does Parshas Miketz have to... Parshas Miketz is almost phrase by phrase exactly like Megillas Esther. So what are you talking about? Yeah. We'll start Minakala Akai. Look at number 14. Parshas Miketz begins with what word? Vayehi. So Megillas Esther, right? Vayehi v'me'achasher. Shkoyach, right? Very good, right? Then that's the whole thing. Parshas Miketz. After how many years does the story take place? Miketz shenasayim yomim. At the end of 2 years, meaning in the beginning of the 3rd year. Vayehi v'me'achasher. Look at number 16. Megillas Esther begins b'shnas shalosh l'malcha. Okay, Allah, not bad. There are 3 phrases, that appear in Parshas Miketz that don't appear anywhere else in the whole Torah except for Megillas Esther. Where are they? Look at number 17. Yasa paroi v'yafkei pekidin. No, right, but that's the Parsha, right? Yasa paroi v'yafkei pekidin. Look at number 18. V'yafkei amelech pekidin. Now this is so I was very happy. Baal Turim points out. Look at number 18. There are only 2 times in Kol HaTorah Kula it says the word v'yafkei pekidin. 2 times the Baal Turim points out. And the Baal Turim says Paroi is gathering food and Achashverosh is gathering noshim. And the Baal Turim contrasts the outcome. Okay. Another expression. Look at this. Look at number 17 again. Pasuk Lamed Hey. V'yikbetzu es kol oichel. Look at Megillas Esther. V'yikbetzu es kol na'ara. Says the Baal Turim, look at number 19. Again, Beis b'Mesiras. There are only 2 times the expression v'yikbetzu appears. Okay, look. So in 18, the Baal Turim is saying v'yafkei pekidim also 2 times. Number 19, the Baal Turim is saying v'yikbetzu only 2 times. It's getting interesting, right? It's getting interesting. Look at number 20. Vayitav hadavar be'enei paroi. Megillas Esther. Vayitav hadavar be'enei hamelech. Who are the 2 main people we're talking about in Parshas Miketz? Besides Yosef, you have Yehuda, Binyamin. Ish Yehudi, Ish Yemini. Look at number 23. Vayasar paroi es tabatoi. Vayasar hamelech es tabatoi. And we're going to see there's a medrash that points out all of them. Actually, not all of them, a lot of them. Fine. Yosef HaTzadik, what happens? Back to number 23. Vayabish Yosef Bigdei Sheish, Vayosem Ravid Azov al Tzavoroi, Vayarkev Yosef Rokevs HaMishneh, Vayikru Lefanav, and I suddenly get Kiru, Kacha Yeos, you think you're going to go into Megillah Esther. Vayikru Lefanav Avrech. What does it say in Megillah Esther? Kacha Yeos Elesh Hashem Melech HaYisrael. It's not for nothing. Haloi Davarhu. Vayihi. Shnasayim Yomim. Vishna Shosh Samacha. V'yafke Pekidim. V'yikbutzuz Kaloichel. V'yitzbuz Kaloichel. V'yitav Adamene Paroi. V'yitav Adamene Amelech. I looked in the Reikeach. I looked in all of the Svarim of the Ramazim. Please, if somebody is familiar, if somebody points this out, then says about Aturim. What was Yosef's name? Sofnas Paneach, yeah? Sofnas Paneach is the Gematria Megala Nistorim. To reveal what's hidden. Megillah Esther. Megala Nistorim. The next one, I can't even bring myself to say. I'll let you look. Number 27, 28. What does Yaakov Avinu say? Va'ani kasher shachalti. What does Esther say? V'chasher avadati. Do you know anywhere else in Kol Torah where you have these expressions somewhere? There's a word that only appears in two places. Parshas Miketz, Megillah Esther. Vayisapak. Look at number 31. Vayirchatz pana vayetze vayisapak. Megillah Esther. Vayisapak Haman. Again the Baal HaTurim says Vayisapak Beis b'Masayras. Only two times. Hacha v'yidach vayisapak Haman vayavel beisai. So Baal HaTurim says, what's the connection? In the beginning, by Megillah Esther, by Parshas Miketz, right? Yosef, in the beginning, there's Tsar. They don't know where he is, and then he's giving them a hard time. But eventually, they come together. There's Sasan v'Simcha. When he lets them know he's Yosef. Af Hasam in Megillah Esther, Tchilasai Tsar, v'Soifai Simcha v'Sasan laYidim. So one thing's for sure, you have three expressions that only appear in two places in Kol Torah Kula. V'yafke pekidim, v'yikbetzu es kol, v'yisapak. Not a coincidence. V'yihi, shnasayim yomim, ashana ashlishis. V'yasa hamelech, v'yitav hadavar, kasher shachalti, kasher avadati. You have one more in Vayeshev. This is just a side. In Vayeshev you have one more. Vayeshev poitifar, v'hi kedavro Yosef yoim. Look at number 35. Vayihi ka'amram elav yoim. So that already the Medrash points out. The Medrash says, look at number 36. The Medrash Rav on Parshas Vayeshev. Vayihi kedabra el Yosef yoim. Rav Yudin b'shem Rabbi Yamin Amar baneha shel Rachel nisan shave ugdulasan shave. The children of Rachel. Who are the children of Rachel? Yosef and Mordechai. Their test was the same. Their gedula was the same. Nisan Shaveh, how is their test the same? Yosef was tested by Yikadar Yosef Yom. Mordechai was tested by Be'amram Elav Yom. So they had a similar test. The Bali Musar talk about the challenge of something that every day. Sometimes you have a one-time challenge, so you mechazik yourself, you overcome. But a challenge that's every day, it's very hard to overcome. Okay. V'lo shama ala, v'lo shama aleim. Gedula son shaveh, and they got the same gedula. Vayasar paroi es tabatoi, vayasar hamelech es tabatoi. Vayabe shoyse bigdei sheis, v'nasayin halavus v'hasus. Okay, so the Medrash is pointing out that there's a parallel between Yosef HaTzadik and Mordechai. They both were tested every day. They were both given similar reward. They were both given the tabas hamelech. They were both given the royal horse. They were both given the royal garments. Okay, very nice. What are all these connections? So you say, Pashat, it's the same story. You have a young person who is kidnapped, taken to the king. That's right. Yosef's kidnapped. Esther's kidnapped. They think their life is over. They think everything is lost. Yosef becomes second in command. Esther becomes second in command. It's the same story. Yosef becomes Mashiach Shel Yisrael. Esther becomes very similar story. Okay. How does Parshas Miketz end? It says, V'amar Chalila, look at number 37, Vayomer Chalila li me'asoy zois. Ho'ish asher nimsa hagavia biyadai, hu yeh li aved, v'yatem alu l'shalom al avichem. You go up in peace to your father. How does Megillas Esther end? Shalom l'chol zaroi. So what is this called? Masay avos, Simon Labanim. Parshas Miketz ends, Shalom el avichem. Megillas Esther ends, Shalom l'chol zaroi. Okay, what are we going to do with this? What exactly is the so here is Shabbos Chanukah. Everybody's thinking about the Yom Tov of Chanukah. And what do we learn in Shul? The Parsha that reminds you of Megillas Esther. Wrong Yom Tov. Wrong Yom Tov. Okay, so you want to say, no, Sam Sofer says, Chanukah and Purim, they're the same thing, they go together, the Ksanas Pasim ways to Selah, and the two Yom Tovim are connected, and Yaakov Avinu saw both of them, and Yosef and Mitzrayim makes both seudas. Yeah, but fine. So Lane Megillas Chanukah, not Megillas Esther. Well, why on the Yom Tov of Chanukah, right? Shiltei Gemara says most years, Parshas Miketz is Shabbos Chanukah. So what Parsha do we learn on Chanukah? The Parsha that's almost exactly like Megillas Esther. So it's V'nahapechu on the wrong day, right? In Williamsburg, they sing Mo'ez Tzur?
Yes.
Yeah? So one of the Pizmayim, we sing about Purim, yeah? Anybody here on Purim? Anybody here on Purim sing about Chanukah? Anybody sing about the Yevanim on Chanukah? On Purim, right? On Purim, you don't say a word about Chanukah. On Purim, it's Purim, Purim, Purim. You don't talk about anything else. Purim. Chanukah, we're busy with Purim. The Parsha is Megillas Esther. The song we're singing about Purim. What's the connection? Yosef's in Mitzrayim. He's having a seudah. Tvayach tevach v'hachein. Says the Sfas Emes. Vayeshvu vayishkeru imay. What's going on? Everybody has in them two pipes. And with these two pipes, you have to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Kaneh and the Veshet. Why do you have both in the same body? So the Shlach Kodesh writes in Shar HaOisios, and we once spoke this out, this Shlach Kodesh, that the Kaneh represents Yaakov Avinu, the Veshet represents Esav. Right? The Hakol Kol Yaakov. The Kaneh is the windpipe. You daven, you learn, Zmiros, Shiuros, V'Sishbachos. The Kaneh is Yaakov Avinu, Hakol Kol Yaakov. The Veshet is Esav. Haliteni na. I don't even need my mouth. Straight into the Veshet. Straight into the Veshet. When Esav threw away the Bechorah, it says, Vayivez Esav es ha-Bechorah. What does Targum Uncle say? Vishat Esav yas Bechorah. Vishat. Veshet. Says the Shlach Kodesh. Veshet. Yaakov Avinu is the Kaneh. Esav is the Veshet. Yaakov Avinu and Esav were in the same guf. They were both in the guf of Rivka Imenu. So too we have in one guf, we have the Kaneh and we have the Veshet. The avodah of a Yid is that the Kaneh should influence the Veshet. So that when you eat, you're eating so that you could learn, so you could daven, so you could sing Zmiros V'Sishbachos. But not the other way around. Not that the Veshet should influence the Kaneh. Right? How do you spell Veshet? Vav, Shin, Tes. Says the Shlach Kodesh, Chacham, Einav, Beroishai. Chacham, Einav, Beroish, Vav. If you're a Chacham, you keep the Vav at the beginning of the Veshet. Because if you're not a Chacham, you know what's going to happen to that Vav? The Vav is going to be transposed after the Shin and the Tes, and it's going to become Shatu, or Shaita. You become a Shaita. Like the Pasuk says by the Man, Shatu ha'am v'lakta. So Chacham Einav Beroishai Beroish Vav. Make sure the Vav stands in the beginning. Because if the Vav goes to the end, it turns into Shatu. Okay? But you know what happens next? If you become a little bit of a shaita and you get too involved in the achila, and you don't eat l'shem shamayim, and the Shlosh says, there are two types of food. There's oichel hamoyel and oichel hanerab. Some food is beneficial to you, and some food is not beneficial, it just tastes good. So someone who just pursues oichel hanerav, which is sweet, but not oichel hamoya, so now the veshet, you're not a chacham. The vav from veshet goes after the shin on the test, it becomes shatu. But then, as you get more and more involved in the achila, the vav, now if you would take a MRI, yeah? You take a sonogram of the veshet. When you're not eating, it's closed. It's shriveled up. The more you eat, the bigger it gets, the longer it gets. What happens to the vav when it gets longer? It turns into the endonon. So the veshet, which turned into shatu, turns into the satan. Says the Shlach Kadosh, here Klal Yisrael, they're eating at seudah Achashverosh, and they eat, and they're chayiv misa. All of a sudden the Gemara says, Hasatan merakid vahem. What's the satan doing there? All they did was they ate. What's the satan doing there? The chayiv misa? Yeah. Because when you elongate the vav turns into a nun, and the veshet turns into the shatu, and the shatu turns into the satan. And that's why when Adam Rishon ate from the Eitz Hadas, the satan came. That's where the satan comes from. That's the midah of Esav. That's the midah of Haman, Hamin ha'etz. So you have to make sure that the kaneh influences the veshet. Now the Shlach Kadosh says, if you looked at the kaneh, there's 6 tabois around the kaneh. What are the 6 tabois? So he says, like this. He says, look in page 4. It's Ois Rish Lamed Gimel, the bottom right hand side. The bottom right hand side. The 6 tabois represent V'nocha olav ruach Hashem, ruach chachma uvina, ruach eitza ugvura, ruach das v'yiras Hashem. These are the 6 tabois. But I once saw you could say pashat. What are you supposed to use the kaneh for? Torah Shabbat Peh. The 6 tabois are the Shishei Sidrei Mishnah. That's what you use the kaneh for. So you use the kaneh for Torah to be mashpia on the veshet, that it should stay a veshet and not turn around. So Shlach Kadosh points out that Yaakov Avinu, how many times is Yaakov spelled with the letter Vav, Malay, in Chumash? Right? 5 times. 5 times Yaakov is spelled with the Vav. Yaakov Avinu is a big fan, is a big proponent on making sure the Vav stays a Vav. Why 5 times the Vav? 5 times Vav is what Ois Lamed. That's Limud Torah. Yaakov Avinu, his avodah is to make sure the Vav 5 times stays a Vav. How does he do it? Al Yedei Limud. Al Yedei the Kaneh. That the Kaneh has to be mashpia on the Veshet. Okay? That's a very important thing. You have 2 pipes. These are the 2 pipes that connect us to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Kaneh and the Veshet. You have to make sure the Kaneh is mashpia on the Veshet, and not the Veshet is mashpia on the Kaneh. So where are the Kaneh and the Veshet? In what part of the body? The neck. The Kaneh and the Veshet connect the Rosh to the Guf. What is the Beis HaMikdash called? To what part of the body is Beis HaMikdash compared to? Savorech Kemigdal Hashem. Kemigdal David Savorech. The Beis HaMikdash is like a neck. When Yosef falls on Binyamin and he cries, Rashi says he's crying over the Beis HaMikdash. Where is there a remes to the Beis HaMikdash? Vayipal al Savarav. He fell on his neck. Neck represents the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Why is the Beis HaMikdash like a neck? Says Achsam Sofer in 2 places. Avnei Nezer brings this down also. Because the Beis HaMikdash is mechaber the Rosh to the Guf. The Rosh, the Hashem B'Rosham. The Guf is Klal Yisrael. The Tefillah goes up through the Beis HaMikdash. The Hashpah comes down through the Beis HaMikdash. So the Beis HaMikdash is the neck of the world, right? The neck is mechaber the Guf to the Rosh. The Beis HaMikdash is mechaber the Rebbeinu Shalom to Klal Yisrael. So the Beis HaMikdash is a tzavar. What's the kaneh of the Beis HaMikdash? What's the veshet of the Beis HaMikdash? So you look in Parshas Emor, Parsha of the Mayadim. It mentions all the Mayadim. And then it says, Eila Mayadim, right? Eila Mayadim, Vayedaber Moshe B'nai Yisrael. And that's the end of the Mayadim, right? It starts with Pesach, Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Vayedaber Hashem Moshe. Then says Rekeach. What does it say right after the Parsha of the Mayadim? V'yikchu Eilecha Shemen Zayis Zach. Which Yom Tif is that? Says Rekeach. Chanukah. What does it say after that? V'lakachta soiles. Which kli of the Beis Hamikdash is it talking about? It's talking about the shulchan. The shulchan is which Yom Tif? Purim. Purim is the Yom Tif you make the seudah on the shulchan. So you have Yikhloi Lech Hashem and Zayisach is Chanukah. V'lakachta soiles, the shulchan is Purim. So you look at the Beis Hamikdash. What's the kaneh of the Beis Hamikdash? Menorah. What's the vesha of the Beis Hamikdash? The shulchan. Okay. It says Menei Yisachar. There are two Yomim Tovim that Klal Yisrael have. One Yom Tif is corresponding to the kaneh. One Yom Tif is corresponding to the veshet. Purim is the veshet. Mishteh v'simcha. Achila. Purim is the veshet. What's Chanukah? Hoidos Halal. Chanukah is the kaneh. These are the two pipes that connect Klal Yisrael to Ibn Hashem. Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah is the kaneh. Purim is the veshet. So the Alter Rebbe points out that in the Beis Hamikdash you had the menorah, menorah in the Darim. You had the shulchan in the Tzafon. And the Mizbeach is in between, but the Mizbeach is a nimshach a little bit. Says the Gemara, the menorah and the Mizbeach have to be looking at each other. If the Mizbeach and menorah are now looking at each other, the avodah is possible. Why does the menorah have to be looking at the shulchan? Because the menorah has to be mashbiya on the shulchan, that the achila is for the menorah, and not the menorah. Some people learn, why? Because they have nothing better to do before the next time they eat. Right? So they eat. Why? Because they can't keep on eating, right? The Stipler says, about Taiva, so what does he think? He wishes he could eat, and then eat more, and then be hungry again, and eat more. Right? But you can't. You can't just keep on eating. So you have to wait until the next time you're hungry. So what do? Okay, I'll learn a bissel until the next time I could eat. So the limud is for the purpose of the achila. No. You have to make sure the achila is for the limud. The ikar is the avodah. The ikar is the tefillah. The kaneh. The veshet is to help the kaneh. So you have the two kelim in the Beis Hamikdash. The reason why the menorah has to be an open area to the shulchan, the menorah has to be shining on the shulchan, that the purpose of the veshet is for the kaneh. So you have two Yomim Tovim. You have Chanukah and Purim. Which has to be mashpia on which? Chanukah has to be mashpia on Purim. You want that the kaneh, the lahoides and lahalel, should bring Purim over to its sphere of influence, so that the purpose of the Mishnah is in order to help the kaneh. So what do we do? On Purim, of course, there's nothing to mention. On the Yom Tif of Chanukah, which is the Yom Tif of the kaneh, so what do we learn? We learn Megillas Esther. We learn about Purim. Purim is the Veshet. We bring over the Veshet to Chanukah, so that in the Yom Tif of Lahoidos Halal, the Yom Tif of the kaneh, we're mashbiya on the veshet, that our achila should be l'shem shamayim. So that is why perhaps on Purim the seudah is achila, is the seudah mitzvah. What's the avodah of Chanukah? The avodah of Chanukah is not stam that it should be an achila, that the achila is a seudah mitzvah. It's only a seudah mitzvah when al yedei the shiras v'tishbachos, al yedei the limud Torah, that creates the seudah as a seudah mitzvah. In other words, there's no other Yom Tov for the course of the year that the seudah is a seudah mitzvah only because of the Divrei Torah. Either it's a seudah mitzvah, it's not a seudah mitzvah. No, Chanukah is different. The avodah of Chanukah is that the kaneh should schlep along the veshet, but that dafka al yedei the kaneh, the veshet is pulled along, is nimshach along to the right side. So on Chanukah, we learn Parshas Miketz, Vayehi, Shnasayim Yomim, Shana HaShlishos. Vayisapak, V'yikbetzu es kol, V'yafged HaMelech Pekidim, Aseres, Shalom el Avichem, Shalom l'chol zaroi. Parshas Miketz is very reminiscent of Megillas Esther. Purim is the Yom Tov of the Veshet. But Chanukah, which is the Yom Tov of the kaneh, we want to take the Veshet and bring it along. How do we bring it along? Says Ramah, the seudos of Chanukah are not stam a seudas mitzvah. Just to eat on Chanukah has no tachlis. Just to say Divrei Torah has a tachlis, but that's not the avodah of Chanukah. The avodah of Chanukah is through the Torah, through the Zmira, Shiur, Brachas. That's what makes it a seudah mitzvah. Rabbi Glatstein, thank everyone for coming. Thank you for listening. Chanukah.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.